1 a.m., the Grand Carlton Hotel night manager called, informing me that my wife was in the lobby and room 420 was wrecked. He estimated the repair costs would exceed six figures. I was aware Brenda shouldn't be at any hotel that night. She was supposed to be attending a design course far away. I promised him I'd arrive by morning. With that, I ended the call, knowing our marriage had reached its end. We were married for 19 years. I constructed my business from a single truck and a borrowed nail gun, and during that time I created the life Brenda desired: a house outside Asheville, 2 cars in the driveway, and a personally chosen kitchen. She didn't work. Her role was set when we married, and I fulfilled my part of the bargain. 3 weeks before the call, she disclosed that she would be enrolling in an interior design course in Charleston, claiming it was necessary for her personal growth. Without a second thought, I penned the check. On a Sunday morning, I drove her to the airport and saw her off at the curb. The course was legitimate, I verified it. 5 days hands-on with decent evaluations. She mentioned she'd return Sunday night and commence work on Monday. That very statement lingered in my memory as I watched her fold a blue dress when she seldom wore indoors while packing. So when the manager phoned with her name, my initial response was fury. It was puzzlement. The Grand Carlton wasn't her hotel. The course didn't start till Monday, and the man on the phone asserted that she had checked in 2 days prior instead of 1. 2 whole days. At that moment, I understood. For roughly 20 minutes, I sat in darkness. Then I stood up and began to act. I neither called nor texted her. Instead, I brewed coffee and stood by the kitchen window, watching the porch light flicker as it usually did when the bulb was on its way out. Strange, the details that stand out when your entire life is suddenly shattered in half. Pondered over each late-night conversation she had in the laundry room, every instant she returned from yoga with her hair still dry, the new scent wafting through our home, her sudden habit of securing her phone on the counter. I'd witnessed it all. I convinced myself I was being overly suspicious. A man often deceives himself when he doesn't want to face reality. But now I knew without a doubt. I had my suspicions even before stepping into the truck. I retreated to my office above the garage and retrieved a duffel bag from the closet. Then I ventured to her side of our bedroom and opened the top drawer of her jewelry box. The diamond earrings for our 10th anniversary, the tennis bracelet on her 40th birthday, the sapphire ring left by her mother that I'd had reset for her last Christmas, all were there. I took every single piece, arranging them in the duffel bag and closing it. I placed it by the door, then dialed Ray Donnelly's number. Ray Donnelly was an insurance adjuster I'd collaborated with for 15 years, handling roof repairs after hailstorms, foundation repairs after floods. I've witnessed every form of destruction a structure can endure. I requested Ray to travel with me to Charleston at 2 a.m., promising him triple his regular wage and explaining en route. Without querying, he agreed and asked for 20 minutes. As I waited, I made another call to my lawyer, instructing him to withdraw funds from our joint accounts immediately on Monday and begin drafting documents. I kept the message brief. I couldn't trust my voice to remain steady with a lengthy message. 20 minutes later, Ray arrived. He entered the passenger seat with 2 coffees in hand and handed one to me without question about the duffel bag in the back seat. I began driving. The highway was deserted, only trucks and inspectors occupied it. An hour into the journey, Ray coughed and asked, "Shall I know what we're getting into?" I maintained my focus on the road and informed him that my wife was in a hotel room she shouldn't be, with a man other than me, and the room had been ransacked. I informed him she would ask me to cover it. There was a brief silence, then he inquired, "What will you respond?" I replied, "I will allow you to perform your duty. You'll negotiate a figure for the room before the hotel staff enter and inflate it, and afterwards I will do mine." Ray gave a nod, understanding was sufficient. The sun rose near Columbia, pink and gray over the pines. I lowered the car window to stay alert. Ray slept for the final hour with his head against the window. He pulled into the Grand Carlton slightly past 7. Valet stand, marble pillars, the kind of establishment that charges $600 per night and feigns gratitude for your presence. I parked myself in the visitor lot. I wasn't handing my keys to anyone. Before switching off the engine, I contacted the hotel front desk from the parking lot. I asked the manager who the room was reserved under. He informed me Brenda's name, her personal card, not mine, not the company's, and no shared account. He executed it smoothly, as if he'd been preparing for it all along. That detail mattered. I needed to be aware of that before I entered. I remained seated for a moment. Ray waited patiently. From the lobby windows, I could see them. Brenda was slouched on a couch near the fireplace, her makeup smeared, her hair secured with one of her usual distress clips. Opposite her sat an unfamiliar man, around 30. wearing a tank top beneath an open hoodie displaying muscular arms that suggested he earned his living by showing them off. That was him. Notice how you can foretell a bruise before it appears. And on a different couch, a woman was sitting with her arms crossed and jaw clenched. She had a cut on her cheekbone and a security guard stationed between her and the other two, the wife, his wife. I took a deep breath. I picked up my duffel bag. I instructed Ray to retrieve his clipboard. We entered. Brenda spotted me first. She stood up so hastily, she nearly overturned the coffee table. Her countenance transformed through three emotions simultaneously, shock followed by anxiety, then a sensation akin to relief. She believed help had arrived. Addressing me, she exclaimed, "Mark, oh my God, Mark, thank you." She extended her arms as if to embrace me, but I continued walking without pause. Straight towards the reception desk I approached. The night manager remained, eyes red, tie askew. He'd been there since 11. I leaned on the counter and spoke softly. "The room is under her name. The card on file belongs to her. The bill will be hers too. The man on the couch isn't mine nor my company's. Is that clear?" The manager hesitated, glanced at Brenda, then returned his gaze to me. He nodded. I said, "Excellent. This is Ray Donnelly. He's a licensed adjuster. Before your staff arrive at 9 and assign an arbitrary number, he'll walk through room 420 and give an accurate assessment. That benefits you both." "Trusting you?" The manager contemplated for a brief moment and gave another nod. He summoned a bellboy with a key card. I turned around. Brenda was right behind me, tears now streaming down her face. She gripped my arm. "Mark, please, please, let's head upstairs. Let's just talk. I can clarify everything, I swear to you." I gazed at her hand on my coat sleeve without removing it. Instead, I held the gaze until she withdrew it herself. Ray proceeded upstairs with the bellboy. I remained in the lobby, refusing to sit. I stood near the fireplace with the duffel bag at my feet. Brenda hovered around me while her boyfriend remained on his couch, attempting to blend in as furniture. His wife on another couch never ceased her glare at him. If gazes could cause injury, he would have been wounded. Brenda continued talking softly and rapidly, nearly whispering into my ear. She insisted it wasn't as it seemed. She claimed the woman there was eccentric. She entered in a frenzy, destroying everything. She admitted she arrived early at the course to gain an advantage, then encountered an old acquaintance, leading to a series of events, and unfortunately made a blunder, but it wasn't what I had imagined. I remained silent, allowing her to speak uninterrupted until she ran out of words. Upon noticing the duffel bag, her eyes widened, and I could see her mental gears turning. She wiped her tears with the back of her hand and offered a guarded smile, the one she used when expecting a favor. She said, "You brought it," softly, almost gratefully. "Mark, thank you." She believed I had delivered cash in large quantities within a duffel bag to make the supervisor forget her presence and the girlfriend overlook the injury on her face, erasing the incident before Monday. I retrieved the bag, pretending to comply with her misconception. He extended it towards her. She accepted it with both hands. She didn't open it instantly. She was too astute for that. She held it against her chest as one would handle something delicate and turned partially away from the room, slightly unzipping it to peek inside. I watched her expression. The smile faded first, followed by the color. Then her hands began to tremble. She glanced at me. Her mouth was open, but no words emerged. I gave her a moment. Then I spoke. "You assumed I brought money." "No, I brought you your jewelry. Because in my household, they no longer belong, and neither do you." I didn't raise my voice. It wasn't necessary. The lobby had fallen silent around the third sentence. The manager behind the desk was feigning attention to a document. The boyfriend was scrutinizing the floor. His wife was looking directly at me, and for the first time that morning, her rigid jaw relaxed a little, almost a nod. Brenda uttered a sound, half a word, half a breath. She attempted another attempt. "Mark, you can't simply do this. We need to discuss this matter. You can't just, I've already said we're finished talking about this. Ray will give the bill to you and your companion, and the hotel knows where to send it. My lawyer will take care of the rest." As I turned to leave, she held onto my arm, harder this time, with both hands. "Mark, please, don't do this, please." She eventually released me, and I walked out into the parking lot without looking back. The sun was fully risen by then, bright and unforgiving. I sat in the truck with the engine off, my hands on the wheel, waiting for Ray. He appeared about 40 minutes later, entered the vehicle, placed his clipboard on the dashboard, and let out a deep sigh. "Sprinkler head," he said. Someone had struck it with a lamp, causing the entire floor to flood. The carpets and drywalls were destroyed, and 2 rooms below suffered water damage. I had purchased the vehicle for $92,000. The hotel may try to increase the price to $110 due to lost reservations, but your name isn't involved either way. I gave a brief nod. He seemed to glance at me oddly. "Are you managing okay?" You didn't respond. We were almost home when he spoke again. He said, in essence, for what it matters. I've observed numerous men in similar situations as you, most of them protest or lash out. You didn't do either. That required something from you. I replied that it didn't feel like it took anything. It felt like putting down a burden I hadn't realized I was carrying for so long. He nodded and didn't pursue the topic further. When he stepped out of the vehicle at his house, it was nearly noon. He shook my hand longer than usual. He didn't say good luck. Instead, he merely suggested, "Call me if you need help." I drove the remainder of the way home in silence with the radio off. The house was tranquil upon my arrival. It was still the same house, with the same furniture and the same dog sleeping by the back door. However, it now felt like someone else's property. I wandered from room to room, gathering her belongings. Not out of anger, not cautiously, but steadily. Items such as garments, luggage, shoes, and containers. Photos from her side of the dresser were placed in a bag. Everything was put in the garage and the door was locked from the kitchen. I then phoned my lawyer back. He answered on the second call. I informed him about the events in Charleston and the bag. After a brief pause, he said, "Your house and company are under your name. The accounts you opened before marriage remain protected. You acted appropriately 10 years ago when I advised you." I informed him I was not concerned about being in good shape. Instead, I wanted everything to be done. He requested a week. In the afternoon of Wednesday, someone rang my doorbell. Upon opening, I found the girlfriend standing on my porch, who now had a butterfly bandage on her cheek wound. She carried a manila envelope and an expression as if she hadn't blinked throughout her drive here. She introduced herself as Diane. She obtained my address from the hotel documents where Brenda had marked me as her emergency contact. She made it clear she wasn't there for sympathy, but rather to give me something. She presented me with an envelope containing printouts. Inside were hotel bills spanning 8 months across 3 different cities, all charged on Brenda's card and corresponding to dates her husband had told her he was attending fitness conferences. She mentioned filing the documents the previous day and suggested I might want to use the same information for any potential future proceedings. We didn't exchange words or shake hands. After this brief encounter, she returned to her car and left. I stood on the porch, holding that envelope for a considerable amount of time. Brenda's sister arrived on Thursday, having driven up from Atlanta. She stood shivering in the cold with her arms hugged close, asking if she could enter. I allowed her into the kitchen but kept her at arm's length. I brewed coffee for her and waited silently as she informed me that Brenda was at her place, distraught. Brenda expressed her desire to return home and make amends. I inquired about whether Brenda had disclosed the truth about Charleston or a version favorable to herself. She glanced at her coffee without responding, which was effectively an answer. I then brought up the envelope on my counter, detailing events from 8 months ago across 3 cities. Her facial expression altered as I spoke, suggesting she wasn't aware of those details. I informed her that Brenda's belongings were in the garage and she was free to collect them. My lawyer would handle the remaining matters. I wished her a safe journey home. She left the coffee unfinished. The legal documents were served a few days later, which Brenda signed promptly without contesting any part. My lawyer mentioned later that Diane's evidence often dissuaded people from arguing their case. The hotel bill amounted to $104,000, shared between Diane and the trainer. Neither I nor my company received any of it. Diane acquired the truck trainer and gym membership. She relocated to live with her mother in Greenville. This information was passed on to me by Ray, who learned it from someone at the hotel. It seems the world becomes increasingly connected as stories like these spread. Approximately 8 months have passed since then. The house now appears larger than before, a fact I've grown accustomed to. I prepare coffee for one and read the newspaper at the kitchen table, where we once shared this routine, with mornings becoming increasingly void of thoughts about her. There are exceptions, though these are becoming less frequent. Brenda resides in a small apartment in Atlanta, near her sibling. She works in retail now, details I've gleaned not from her, but rather from a Christmas card sent by her sister that I didn't open until February. The business is thriving, securing 2 significant projects this spring, a school extension and a medical facility in Hendersonville. I have been on site daily for these ventures, with my supervisor noting a noticeable improvement in my appearance, attributing it to improved sleep. I informed him that the improvement stems from sleeping through the night for the first time in a while. He chuckled. He didn't realize I was serious. Ray and I had dinner a week ago. He inquired about my romantic status. I informed him I wasn't involved with anyone and I had no immediate plans. He simply acknowledged this and didn't pursue the subject further. Last month, during a task in that area, I passed by the Grand Carlton briefly. It appeared ordinary from the road, just another towering structure with a fountain out front. I opted not to stop. I frequently thought about that morning in the lobby recently. The duffel bag, her hands, the expression on her face as she opened it. People often ask me if I regret my actions. My response is always no. A man carries someone for 19 years. When he finally releases them, he gets to decide where. I put her down in that lobby and exited.